you've got only one life to live, and if you don't make the most of it, then unfortunately you don't really get a second chance. Hi everyone, I'm Radu Signer and this is my 90 days challenge. It came about because although by any standard you can think of, I had a good life, I had this lingering feeling that I was more of a spectator, if that makes sense. It's not that things were bad, it's just I felt sort of numb, and talking to friends and family, I actually realized that most of us feel the same way. So then I see this as a big issue because no one gives you your time back. You've got only one life to live, and if you don't make the most of it, then unfortunately you don't really get a second chance. And I decided to stop wasting mine. And the problem is, I had no idea what to do. Now, to put things into context, I've been a truck driver for over 6 years now, so I've got a lot of time behind the steering wheel. And about a year ago, I decided to take advantage of all those hours spent driving by listening to audiobooks and podcasts and anything I can get my hands on that would actually help me improve my life, instead of just wasting the hours listening to music or whatever. So after taking in tons and tons and tons of content, most of it absolutely brilliant and interesting, I realized that most of the things I was learning didn't actually help me with anything at the point where I was in my life. So then I decided to focus on finding content and books and strategies that would actually help me take control of my own destiny. Not to sound too corny about it, but that's exactly what it was. Now, the first step for me was to decide what I actually want. And as it turns out, that's a bit more difficult than I imagined. And it's not just me. I bet that most of you watching this video right now don't really know exactly what you want. Right. First order of business, decide what I want. How do I do that? Well, I need to organize my thoughts. And how do you organize your thoughts? You write them down. That's why I have the journal. So I started writing things down, just random thoughts, random feelings, or whatever. I was making a little bit of progress, but not nearly enough. So then the next step would be to decide if I'm going to take my time and put in the effort to write something down. What exactly should I write that is important enough and powerful enough to help me improve my life? So then I decided that what I needed was to set a goal. And I needed to set a goal that was, first of all, tangible, so that I would actually start moving towards it, and important enough for me to not let myself get sidetracked and end up in the same situation I already was in. Now, how do you set goals? Apparently, it's more difficult than you think. If you try to have a happy-go-lucky attitude and then think of all the nice things you would like to have, physical or emotional or psychological, doesn't matter. Once the happy feeling fades away, then the goal becomes superficial. So I learned that the best way to set goals is to start with a list of problems, because you might not know what you want, but you definitely know what you don't want. At least that was absolutely true for myself. So I wrote down a list of all my problems, and looking at my list of problems, I had to ask myself this one question. If I was to achieve one thing, what would that be? That it would solve most of my problems and make the other ones easier to solve, or even irrelevant. So then the first question is, what is the one thing that, if achieved, makes everything else irrelevant or easier to solve? It took me a while, I think close to a couple of weeks to get this done, but then I had my one goal written down in detail, and that's how it all started. Now, because I've also learned that we can't directly influence the outcomes of our actions. What we can directly influence is who we are in the present. So basically, instead of just thinking about your end result or what it would be like to achieve your goal, switch your mind frame to think about you in the present and what you could work on yourself so that you could become the person that's capable of achieving your one most important goal. The next thing I learned about that was that our personalities are determined by our beliefs, our skills, and our habits. Changing beliefs is quite difficult. However, habits and skills are something you can actually start working on even right now. So then I needed to learn how to improve skills, decide what skills I needed to improve, and then how to improve them, and decide what habits I need to create or eliminate that would make me the person capable of achieving my most important goal. So the system I came up with, and I've called it the 90 days challenge, because I'm doing it for 90 days, and if it works for me, it should work for you. Doesn't matter what goal you have, because it's a simple system, should work for anything, even if it's financial, career, relationships, could be anything. So at the start of each day, I write down a few questions. The first question: what is the one thing that, if achieved, makes every other problem irrelevant or easier to solve? Because I need to remind myself at the start of each day what my most important goal is. And then the answer to that question is the one I already know by what I told you about with the list of problems. So I write that down every single day at the start of the day. Now, the next question is: what is one small step that you could and you would take today that gets you closer to your one goal? That obviously depends on the goal, but the principle behind it is that if you write down at the beginning of the day something that you can do and you're willing to do that day, by the end of the day you will be a bit closer to your one goal. And if you've got it down on paper, it makes you more likely to take that one step. It can be a small step. Next question: what is one habit that you need to create or eliminate that makes you better equipped to be the successful self you want to be? Some habits are good, some habits are bad. It's up to you to decide every single day what's the habit you want to work on that probably gets you the best results and helps you become the person you want to be. The next question is: what is one skill you need to learn or practice that needs to be related to your one goal? So depending on what goal you have, there are a few skills that you need to master to be able to achieve it. So if you work every single day just a little bit on the skills you need, then by the end of the 90 days you will have enough skills stacked up to get you where you need to go sometime in the near future. So at the end there's another question, which is: how can you reward yourself today for doing the things you set out to do? And that's important, because if you focus on the end result or on how it would be to have achieved your main goal, oftentimes what happens is that you don't actually enjoy the journey to achieving it. So by rewarding yourself for every small step you take, it makes the journey that much more enjoyable and you're less likely to quit, and that's really important. So that's the start of the day. Now at the end of the day, I write down exactly what I wrote down at the start of the day. So the small step, the one habit, the one skill, and my daily reward. And then at the end of it, end of each one, I write down yes or no, if I've done it or not. I obviously didn't do everything I set out to do every single day. But this gives me an idea of a feedback about what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. And if I notice that, for example, 7 days in a row I've not done my daily steps, then I know what I need to work on to actually start moving forward. After that, I've got 3 more questions. What is the one skill you need to practice? Because at the end of the day, before going to bed, I need to think about what I need to work on. The next question is, name one thing you are grateful for. Once you write that down, it's not some mystical stuff. It's just, it helps you appreciate what you have a bit more, and that gives you the energy and the focus to keep moving forward. And then the last question of today is, what is the one thing that, if achieved, makes every other problem irrelevant or easier to solve? And the answer to that is the answer you found out by doing the list of problems at the start of the journal. So basically, start the day with your most important goal in mind, and your day with your most important goal in mind. Thing is, we're not going to get a second life. We're not going to get a second chance. So we need to make the most out of this one. There are so many things we do, so much effort and time we put into things that don't really matter, that what we need most of all is clarity, resilience, and that builds character. On my website, you'll find the exact system. You'll find tips and tricks, and I'll upload as many articles and videos I can possibly make. If you want to start this journey with me, it's absolutely free. Well, you'll need to write down on something, so you might need to buy a journal or whatever. But let me know how it goes, and enjoy life more.